How did the Nazis succeed? I raise the question, friends, because I think we have in our mindset this silly idea that suggests that this Nazi regime was a historical aberration. Something weird, and in a sense, a kind of invasion of moral monsters. And we rose up in World War II and we defeated those moral monsters, and now the land is free and there are no more dragons to worry about. That perspective is profoundly unhealthy and dangerous. The reason, friends, that the Nazis succeeded was not because the Nazis were a peculiarly wicked group of people. It didn't happen randomly. It flowed out of A, our own sinfulness, and B, a very specific ideology, which is radically overlapping with a postmodern mindset. If you doubt me, I don't have time to defend that thesis too terribly well right now in this short little podcast, but if you're interested in the theory, I'd encourage you to read Modern Fascism by Jean Edward Veith. Just an outstanding book. So one is ideology, but the maybe even more important is the first one that I mentioned. The reason these wicked people came to power is because we're wicked people. And so whoever is in power is probably going to have some significant and serious level of wickedness. I've been saying for years now that the idea of comparing the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust with the reality of abortion in this country is wildly and grossly unfair to the Nazis. We look down our noses at a people who managed to put to death 6 million people, while we have, since 1973, put to death 60 million people. We look down our noses at a nation that put these 6,000 people to death, mostly in secret, while our killing centers are right in our neighborhoods and advertise on the internet. Their Holocaust was carried out by a very small number of soldiers and officers. Ours has been carried out by tens of millions of mothers and fathers. The idea that we are morally superior to the Nazis is self-delusion. Self-delusion on par with the Nazis' self-delusion that they were morally superior to the rest of the world. So what do? That's funny you should ask. What we do is we acknowledge our wickedness. We pray for God's grace. We affirm sound and true ideologies that affirm the reality that we are wrong and wicked and that there is an objective right and wrong. We abhor Nietzsche and his ethic of the Übermensch, and we embrace the ethic of Jesus. We ask once again, for God's grace. We guard against matching together governmental power with that particular rabid kind of ideology. If there's no right and wrong, then it's perfectly legitimate for the government to impose its will on its people. That's what fascism as a political system is all about. And that is where we increasingly grow nearer to. love liberty, love God's law, acknowledge our sinfulness and our dependence upon His grace, and maybe we'll be able to do, by God's grace, just a little bit better.